thing. What is the definition of self-esteem? Right? We have to explain what's the definition of self-esteem. Then secondly is what's the difference between self-esteem and arrogance? Right? Jacobs Jones, how are you? Okay.
Is that directed at me?
You're giving me video. Thank you. You saved me. Now I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. Okay. At least I can tell if someone enjoys my joke or what. Everything. Shkoyach, Jakey. Okay.
I've probably heard it before, to be honest, Rav, but you can still show your jokes.
Oh, no.
I still fake laugh.
Now I sound like an old dad, huh? Okay. So we're asking the question of what is self-esteem? And why does one even need self-esteem? That's another interesting question. When you don't have self-esteem, how do you identify that one does not have a good self-esteem? The other interesting thing about it is what's the difference between that and arrogance, right? So does anyone want to try and explain what's the difference? Jakey, what do you think the difference between self-esteem and arrogance is? Do you have any idea?
It's a pretty far-reaching idea, I think. But what I would like to say is I think self-esteem is knowing your abilities, but also knowing your abilities don't come from you specifically. I think arrogance is when you think that you are the master of your destiny or you are the one who's controlling everything. But I think self-esteem is knowing that you've got
strength. I think it's in February,
yeah,
so you probably...
Sorry, my sister's right next to me.
I gotta say, obviously, Joseph.
Okay, no worries. We'll let you to be off. Okay, so good. You gave it a good start. So we're going to go through the idea as follows: that what is low self-esteem create? What's the problems with low self-esteem? So the first problem with low self-esteem is the following: a person that has a low self-esteem cannot take criticism. When you criticize someone that has a low self-esteem, they struggle. They become very hurt when they get criticism because they think that means something against them. So they're very, very not happy to get criticism. And I'm talking about constructive criticism. Giving them constructive criticism really puts their back up because they struggle with it. Now, the problem we have with if someone can't take criticism, the problem with someone that cannot take constructive criticism is that they can't find out what their problem is, right? So when you get constructive criticism, it actually is a very good thing because then you can fix certain things that you do wrong. So the first thing of not being able to take constructive criticism is a big problem if you have a low self-esteem. That's something that you're going to miss out on. The second thing with the low self-esteem is that you become a people pleaser, right? You're always trying to make people happy with you because you don't want people to not like you, right? So you're constantly trying to make people like you because you're not sure about yourself. And we're going to see exactly we still didn't define what low self-esteem is, but that's going to be a struggle. A person is going to always want people to like him. And therefore, if someone asks them to do something, they'll always try and do it for them because they don't want that people should think that they're not good people or they're not good enough. The third thing is that a person that has a low self-esteem is that he's gonna be afraid of failure, can be very nervous to fail. So we know that a person that's afraid of failing a lot of times will miss out on doing things because they're afraid to fail. So they will be asked to share an idea with someone or speak in public or create something or try and build, whatever it is. They're always too nervous to try because they're afraid that they're gonna fail. Back to the point two, which I said, a people pleaser. There's a lot of cost with being a people pleaser. It can cost in your family life. So a person has to do things at home, but someone called them and asked them to do something and they cannot tell them, no, sorry, I need to be at home right now. my wife needs me, or my parents want me at home, whatever your circumstances is, and you go out to make them happy. In the meantime, at home, the family suffers from it because really the family needs you, or your sibling, whatever it is, and you're going out there to help others. So those are three important points that make a person that has a low self-esteem miss out on. Again, they cannot take constructive criticism. Secondly, they're always people pleasers, always trying to make people always happy with them, and that's a lot of effort, a lot of effort involved in that. And the third thing is they're afraid of failure. They're afraid to fail, and we know that if you're afraid to fail, there's many things you won't do because you're afraid to fail, right? You're afraid to fail, so therefore you don't try and do different things. So what is the definition of low self-esteem? So the idea of low self-esteem, and I heard this from Rabbi Tursky. I did tell a few people to listen to this year. I think it's a great year. It's on Torah Anytime. His own struggle with low self-esteem. And it goes as follows, that the definition of low self-esteem is when a person does not recognize his abilities, does not realize what he could do, or how strong, how capable he is as a person. When a person does not understand that, then a person will have a low self-esteem. So his reality about himself is that I'm not good enough, or I don't know how to do this, or I'm not good at doing. I can never do that, or I can never build this, or I can never achieve that, or I can never drive that. That's not for me. I'm not capable of that. That's a low self-esteem because you do not recognize what you have. And when a person doesn't realize about himself, then he has a low self-esteem. But when a person starts recognizing what he has, the self-esteem starts building up. It's interesting because when someone comes to you and says, you know, I think I have a low self-esteem. So it can be a good-looking guy, a good-looking girl. It can come from a family with comfortable, established. They can be, you know, very nice people. And so they're nice, they're good-looking, they're a comfortable family. What else do you want? You know, they have pretty much whatever you would think that a person like that should have a good self-esteem. And they come forward and they say, you know, I don't have I don't know, I don't have self-esteem. And you look at them and you wonder what's wrong, right? Did you get your teachers told you were worthless? Did your parents tell you you're not good enough? Was it anything like that? The answer is no. It's nothing to do with that. It's because they don't recognize about themselves. So Sigmund Freud said, it's interesting, not that I read his book by any chance, but I heard this from someone quoting him. He said like this, he said that that first he understood that the human has within him, the human creature has this concept of wanting to survive and always wanting to survive, and that's the drive. Then he paid attention more to people and saw another interesting thing that exists inside every person, and that is a concept of destruction, wanting to destroy yourself. So people many times will destroy themselves. They will do things that harm them and bring themselves down, and that is the source for low self-esteem. I'm not good enough, I can't do it, and wanting to bring destruction to your own life, that is something that perhaps is the generator behind a low self-esteem. Okay? So again, low self-esteem, when I don't recognize who I am, the talents I have, the things that I can do, I don't believe that I can do things, but the reason is because I'm so convinced about myself that I'm not good enough. And that seems to me like the reality. But the truth is that's not the reality. Okay? Any questions so far? No. Okay. Zoom. This is called a Zoom cheer. Usually you don't get questions on Zoom. So we'll continue. So that's what we have to focus on. Now, how does one start working on self-esteem? Because the problem with the low self-esteem is that it seems like for the person that this is the reality, meaning it seems to them that this is the reality of who they are. So when you come and you say, you have to believe in yourself. So they look at you and they say, thank you very much, I have to believe in myself. What do you mean? It's easy to say, but I'm not good enough. How am I meant to believe with myself if I don't believe I can do it? How am I meant to believe that I'm good, but I don't think I'm good? Because their reality, in their mind, they created a certain reality about themselves. So you coming and telling them, but that's not the reality about you. It's not going to help, because the reality that they have about themselves is what they believe about themselves that brought them to this situation of having this low self-esteem. So what has to be done? So there's the concept that we know, the famous Mishnah, Im Ein Ani Li Mili. Not going to go into the details of the Mishnah, Im Ein Ani Li Mili, that's the beginning. There's also the concept of Ve'ahavta L'orecha Kamoicha. You have to love your fellow Jew like yourself, which means you have to love yourself first, right? Ve'ahavta L'orecha Kamocha. If I have to love someone the way I love myself, then if I don't love myself, I don't have to love my friend, right? Simple calculation. You have to love someone like yourself. If I don't love myself, I will not be able to love someone like I love myself. So a person has to develop Im Ein Ani Li Mili. If I'm not for myself, who's for me? He has to develop love to himself, and he has to develop another interesting Gemara that says, Kol Chayav Adam Loimar, a person is obligated to say, Kol Olam Lo Nivra Ela Bishvili. The whole world was not created, rather only for me, meaning the world was created for me. Every person is obligated to say these concepts. Kol ha'olam nivra ela bishvili. So these are the ideas that we have to try and get into our head, and we'll explain how does one do this. So if a person sits by himself, and I realize that I struggle with low self-esteem many times myself, because I realize many times I want to make people happy with me. You know, I'm worried, you know, what they're going to say, what they're going to think. You know, you give a shiur, and then after you want to know, oh, did you guys enjoy the shiur? Was it good shiur? Was it not a good shiur? Right? So that has some sort of indication of a low self-esteem. Of course, everyone likes to get compliments, and no one likes criticism. That's obvious. But if you need it, if you find that you are without it, you can't cope, then that shows on a concept of a low self-esteem. So everyone really has within them a low self-esteem, that I believe. I believe because no one likes to get criticized, and no one likes to not get compliments, right? Everyone enjoys a compliment. So that means everyone really is, as far as I'm concerned, is a human that needs to feel good about himself. So how does one work on that low self-esteem? So if a person sits down by himself and he asks himself the following question: if I would think about my friend, what I think about myself, would I be friends with him? Meaning, if I think about myself certain things, and I thought that let's say I thought about myself that I'm selfish, and I don't really, and I'm not capable of doing anything, and I'm just an annoying individual, right? If I thought that about my friend, would I be friends with him? And the answer is I wouldn't be friends with him, right? I wouldn't, if that's what you're thinking about yourself. So first step is to ask yourself, what do you think about yourself? Really find out, what do you think about yourself? Now, we don't spend time thinking, what do I think about myself? Do I think I'm a good guy? Why? Why do I think I'm a good guy? Right? Why do I think I've done things, right? We have to know, what do I think about myself? So that's the first step, is a person has to sit down by himself, and he has to kind of write for himself a list. What do I think that my talents are? What do I think my negative things are? Now, if you can make a list of things you're not good, or things that are not good about you, very quickly, and things that you're good at takes you a long time, it means you don't know yourself. You don't know who you are. Because if you came to someone else, like your mother or your father, whoever, someone that likes you a lot, they will write a quick list of what you're good at. So if you cannot make a list about yourself of what you're good at, or your talents, or your good things that you have to offer, then you don't know yourself. You're obviously very critical about yourself, and you never give yourself credit, and you don't know that. Now that's an indication of a low self-esteem. That will drive a person to have a low self-esteem. But if a person could sit down with himself and create a list of the things he's good at, then he can start developing a certain mindset about himself. And through that, you can have a higher self-esteem. So again, that's an exercise everyone should think of doing, and see how quick could I come out with a list of things that I'm good at. Now, if you came out with a list of things that you're not good at, and a list of things that you're good at, but not many, so it's time to start working on that list, which means you have to spend more time to getting to know who you are. And the more you can get to know who you are, the more the list of good things about yourself should grow. Because again, if you take your friends, you'll be able to write a list of good things about your friends. Otherwise, you wouldn't be friendly with them. You can get a good list about people you love, your parents, whoever it is. You can make a list of good things about them very quickly. There's no reason in the world that about yourself you cannot make that list. So if you're struggling to make that list, it means you're too critical of yourself, and you're giving us you don't have the right vision on yourself. Love yourself, and then you can love your friend like you love yourself. So obviously you do not love yourself enough, and you should be loving yourself. Or im ein anili mili. If I'm not for myself, who is for me? No one is going to be for you if you're not going to be for yourself, which means you have to know who you are, what your talents are. Those are concepts that one has to work on to develop self-esteem, and work on it till he can get a clear, good list, and slowly get rid of things that he considers bad about him. Because maybe there are things that I've done wrong. There's obviously things that I've done wrong, but not everything is bad. Doesn't mean I'm a bad person, right? I've done wrong things, and we all know the wrong things we do because we know us, right? No one can tell us what we can know about ourselves, the wrong things, more than anybody else. But at the same time, we know that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. So a person, if he has a list of all these things that are bad, he's just kind of just writing a black list about himself. That's not called knowing who you are. So those are the beginning. That's the beginning of a focus on one's own self, to start developing self-esteem, to really be healthy with who we are. And it takes work, because again, like I said, no one likes criticism, and everyone likes compliments. So that means that in essence, we are human beings that do not like to see things that are not good and things like that. So therefore, when we see something, we immediately struggle with it. And we're always nervous about who we are. Maybe we're not good enough. Maybe I should do things differently. Maybe I should, put more focus. So those are the things. Now, what that develops, again, is once a person starts feeling good about who he is, and he knows that he's good at certain things, and he knows that he has good qualities, then if someone gives him constructive criticism, he doesn't struggle with that so much. He's much more comfortable with that, right? I'll give you a simple example. If I give a shir, I can get 10 messages, let's say, not that this ever happened, but you can get like 10 messages of people saying, that was great, unbelievable, thank you so much. And then someone says to your message, I didn't really get what you were talking about. I kind of disagree with everything you said. You're like, you're destroyed. What are you so destroyed? 10 people loved your shir, right? One person didn't like it. Why are you so, what's the problem? And he probably had a bad day or something, so he wrote you such a message. Like, why are you struggling? Or someone disagreed with you, but everyone else kind of got your point. Why are you so upset? Why you can't? Because when a person struggles with his own understanding of who he is, then he doesn't turn around and say, that person obviously had a bad day, or that person obviously doesn't understand. Maybe later you will get a better understanding and then you'll realize I'm right. Immediately that reflects, oh, I'm terrible. I always fail. I could do much, but I can't believe that I just don't know how to give a shir. Because again, it comes back to me because I don't think highly of myself. I don't think I'm good enough. So I can't deal with constructive criticism, right? You follow? Make sense? If I know who I am, I can deal with constructive criticism because I still think I'm good. But if constructive criticism immediately feeds into how low I feel about myself, so I don't want to hear that. And I struggle to get that because that will translate into me being no good. And I'm not good enough. And then again, wanting to please people, going back to those points. If you have self-esteem, you don't need, because like we said, it's developing and understanding your talents and who you are, making that list, understanding qualities. So I don't have to please. You don't want to be my friend? You obviously don't have good taste, right? That should be their attitude. You don't want to be my friend? That's fine. You don't have good taste. Because if you would know who I am and you would realize that I'm a good person, I have what to offer, you'll be friends with me. You don't want to go. I don't need you. You don't want to be my friend? I don't need, right? But if I struggle with self-esteem, then someone doesn't want to be my friend. Oh, why? What's wrong with me? What am I not? Why not they talk to me? And we revisit. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I shouldn't have said this. And we start concerned that maybe things we said made him walk away. No, don't worry so much. You're a good person, and it's worthwhile being your friend. But we have to develop that. So we don't become people pleasers. And we say, listen, I can't do it now. You know that I'm happy to help you when I could. I said this story before to a group, but I had someone that arrived a while back. He met me, whatever, we became friends. I used to speak to him a lot, but eventually I realized we're not the same style, and I kind of got busy with other things, and I didn't talk to him so often. So he came up to me one day, and he says to me, Rabbi, maybe he said, Menachem, we don't talk like we used to. We used to talk once upon a time. We don't talk like we used to. I said to him, look, we never got married, right? We don't have to always talk to each other. We're not married, but we're still friends. If you need anything, you can call me and I'll be there. I'll help you out. I'm happy to help you. But we don't have to constantly talk, right? Not everyone you have to talk to. That's not how it works. Again, if I'm nervous that he's going to think I'm not good enough, then I would want to talk to him and always be, I should be talking to you more. If I'm comfortable, and again, it's easy to have self-esteem when you're dealing with someone that has lower self-esteem than you. So then it becomes easier. But if someone has equal self-esteem to you, that's where it becomes challenging, right? Because he's so nervous about his relationship with me, so it's very easy for me to take the approach of, listen, I'm still friends with you, right? But when I want a relationship with someone else, that's where it becomes a little bit more tricky. But the point, again, going back to the point is, if I'm comfortable with who I am, then I don't have a problem. You're my friend, good. You don't want to be my friend, you have bad taste. And not being successful with something, again, let's think about that. It's quite obvious now, right? If I'm afraid to fail because that indicates who I am, then obviously I become more afraid to fail. But if I know I'm a good person, I'm successful, I do good things, and I'm trying to do something, and I'm human, and everyone can fail, but this doesn't mean that I'm useless. Then if I fail, I'm not so worried to fail, because so what if I fail? It doesn't mean anything too bad about me. But if my self-esteem is built by the things I do or things like that, then if I fail, it's another indication of how not good I am as an individual, then we're very nervous to fail. Right? So that's something, again, we have to pay attention to. So self-esteem is an extremely important attribute to have to be able to conduct yourself in a society and develop relationships and things like that. I've seen people that are desperate to have friends are usually the people that struggle to have friends, because people always feel like they can take advantage of them, use them, because they know that these people want a friendship with them. So therefore they feel like they can always, they don't need you, you need them. And that's obviously very, very detrimental for people when they're trying to have a relationship. Again, Jacob will explain this one more time, that if you're a person that has a low self-esteem, you're always worried about your friendships. The guys that have the friendship with you, they're not concerned. They know that you're more concerned about the relationship than they are. So they always obviously take advantage of that, mistreat it, whatever it is. And you find yourself in real trouble trying to chase these relationships, and really bothers you that you're not in good relationships with these people. So those are the concepts. So I want to explain why this is important, and why is this when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, the relevance. Okay. So first I want to explain quickly the difference between this and arrogance. Arrogance is when a person thinks he's better than someone else. Okay. When I think that what I did is because I am so, I've got this talent that makes me worth more than everybody else. So arrogance makes a person disregard others. Self-esteem it's not, I don't have to disregard you. I know my talents, I know what I'm good at, but that does not translate into me therefore mistreating someone else or thinking I'm better than someone else, right? Because it's not to do with someone else, it's to do with my talents. Arrogance is a lot of times from a low self-esteem, people develop arrogance. The reason for that being is because in order for them to feel good about themselves, you have to push other people down. So if I have a low self-esteem, so what I'll say is I'm a better speaker than this guy and that guy and that guy, and that will make me feel like I'm a good speaker. You follow? Make sense? So I'm a better speaker because compared to this guy, he doesn't know how to speak. This guy doesn't know how to speak. That guy doesn't know how to speak. I know how to speak, and that picks me up, right? I don't know if you want to use it for sports. If someone wants to say he's good at cricket, so if he has a low self-esteem, he looks at himself compared to others that are not good. He says, I'm much better than this guy, and I'm much better than that guy, and I'm much better than this guy, and that's how he feels he's good at it. But if he has a good self-esteem, it's regardless of how good other people are, I have a talent. And I'm happy to compliment others that they also have a talent. So the more I have a self-esteem, the more I'm happy to compliment others that they're also great. And I found this in my own experience in the type of job that I do, which is speaking and rabbi and whatever, is that sometimes I found myself struggling to give compliments to other rabbis. Believe it or not, even to rabbis that you're not even in their league. But you feel like when you hear someone saying that a rabbi is amazing and he's way above your league, we're talking about top rabbis, you struggle to compliment them. But when a person starts feeling comfortable with who he is, so of course I'm not like that rabbi. But that doesn't take away that I'm good and I do things and I'm a good person and I speak well and I like giving my shiur, right? That's when you start developing that better, then you don't have a problem to compliment others because it doesn't take away from you. It's the low self-esteem that creates the arrogance, because arrogance is when I think I'm better than someone else. And I only have to start comparing myself to others and thinking I'm better than others when I'm not comfortable with how my talents or what I'm good at or what I can achieve. Any questions so far?
Yes, I have one, if I can. The question is as follows, in the sense that when you talk about talents, it's also naturally relative, is it not? Like you're only just as good as, like you can only say if you're good at something compared to something else, compared to a benchmark. So I guess maybe compared to other people, whether it's playing cricket or whether it's giving speeches or whether it's whatever it is, you're always naturally saying that you only have a strength compared to other people. Do you understand the question, or am I not?
Yeah, 100%. So there is a person can't think that he has a talent in a cricket when he can never hit the ball, right? That's not, that would be a person not recognizing where he's not good at, right? But there's other areas that he's good at that he could look at. And you're right, there is a sense of relativity, but I'll give you an example in my type of position. So let's say you have myself, you have Rabbi Evan, you have Rabbi Sacher, you have people, we're all in the same boat. We're all kind of, and when I used to be in the kollel, with people would get up to speak every week, some other rabbi would get up to speak. So I'm also speaking, and people enjoy my drasha. They thank me for my drasha, and I get to speak again, and people give me compliments. Now, do I have to compare myself to others at this stage? Or do I say, no, if I'm good at what I'm doing, keep practicing, keep putting focus on it. Maybe you can learn from others, even a few tactics that they're using, but they could be brilliant. I have no problem of saying that they're even better than me or they're very good. That doesn't affect that I could also give and I also have what to offer. You understand? So if someone is not good, so no one will listen to him, right? He's going to get up to speak. No one compliment him. He won't get any audience. And he will realize that he has to find a different job. He has to find something else to do because, you're not going to get picked into the cricket team example, right? It's just not going to happen. So, of course, there's a certain sense of relativity to what you're doing. But once you know that you're okay, now how you grade yourself, you don't have to put other people up or down to see if you're okay. You understand what I'm saying? Makes sense? Yeah.
Nuanced, but yes.
Okay. So, but it makes sense. Okay. So again, there's a difference between me putting other people down to climb the ladder, and you can feel this. I've seen it in my own personal life, is that when I felt that when I was not focusing on myself, my decision of good or not good was based on others. If I could grade the other rabbi as less than me, or I could say he spoke, but he speaks like this, I always had to find something negative about him, right? To make me feel like I'm a good speaker. Okay? But if I would be comfortable with myself, I can compliment them and still know that I have a talent, right? That makes sense. Okay. So that's the focus is not to pay attention to, obviously you have to know if you have a certain talent, but we all have talents and we all have things we're good at. And we just have to know that we cannot say that, based on the other person. If you do chesed, if you're a kind person, you're a kind person. But there's someone else that's more kind, and I'll go and compare myself. And then when I hear that someone else is doing a kind deed, I have to put that down to feel that I am kind, right? Those are concepts that people use. So arrogance is when you start comparing yourself to others and you feel there's this feeling when a person is arrogant, he starts putting other people down. That's when a person is arrogant. You start seeing he gives other people negative marks or negative things. That's when arrogance starts. You can tell that that's arrogance, and it's a lack of self-confidence. Rather, it's a low self-esteem and not a high self-esteem that brings a person to do that. Why is it important to realize this? Yes.
Oh, sorry. No, you go.
Go. What's the question?
Given the example that you gave about self-esteem, though, it sounds like there's a very fine line between like humility and self-esteem and self-confidence. Because, I mean, the example you gave with friends, if you think, that person doesn't want to be friends with me because I'm too good or whatnot, so I feel like you may get too big for your boots almost, and you're kind of cutting yourself short. And that's kind of because you have so much confidence and whatnot, then that's when your arrogance comes in. And it's not because you're trying to put other people down, it's because you're trying to build yourself up. Right. If that makes sense, sort of.
Yeah, 100% that there is that concern that a person says, that person is a zero. But in the end of the day, if you pay attention carefully, the person that's arrogant or too full of himself, in the end of the day, it will bother him that the other person is not his friend. It will bother him in the end of the day because he's so good. How can he not want to be my friend? But when a person has a self-esteem and he has humility, then look, he doesn't want to be my friend. It's not a problem. I could deal with that. Again, arrogance would be, he would be more bothered that the person left him than he would feel too good about himself, because he'll feel like he should love me. He should want to be around me. I don't want him. So if you arrogant, you'll turn around and kind of attack the other person to make you feel comfortable. So example, someone stops being my friend, and then I decide that I see him on the street one day, and whatever, he says, oh, how you doing? And I say, oh, don't talk to me. I'm not interested in you. Get lost, right? That would be an arrogant thing, and that's an indication that the reason you don't care that he's not your friend is because you took the arrogant approach. I don't need him. But if it's because of self-esteem, meaning I'm not going to chase him, but if he wants, I'm always happy to be friendly with him. Make sense? So when a person, if it was arrogance, he wouldn't want the relationship to continue with the person. He would take the approach of, I don't need him, and if he ever comes and tries to talk to me again, I'm going to kick him away. Right? But if it's self-esteem, I'm happy to be his friend. If he ever wants him, he's more than welcome to come speak to me. But I'm not going to be hanging around waiting for him, or I'm not going to keep calling him and chasing him up. He obviously doesn't know how to make friends, or he doesn't want to be my friend. He doesn't have a good taste. I'm a good guy. I don't understand why he wouldn't want to be my friend. But if he ever wants, he's more than welcome to come back and be my friend. Right? And I had an experience with a guy that, again, it's much easier when it's a guy that needs you more than you need him. So there was a guy in the community that was a little bit of a nebuch. You know what a nebuch is? A guy that unfortunately, comes from a broken home, and he didn't have anything, and he was a little bit of a weirdo, whatever. So this guy decided one day to stop talking to me. So because I'm so confident compared to him, right? Because I have friends, I have a community, I have a family, so I'm much more relaxed than he is about my situation. So when he stopped talking to me, it didn't bother me. It really didn't bother me, because I knew that he has his issues, and the reason he's not talking to me is nothing with me. I'm not the problem. He is the problem. So it didn't bother me at all, because I was so confident that I had no issue and he's the one with the issue. Right? And when he wanted to talk to me again, I had no problem to talk to him, because I know, okay, he has issues, and now he wants to talk again. Okay, I'll talk to him. But when it's, again, it's much harder when it's someone that you're not aware that they have issues. Suddenly they stop talking to you. So then you wonder, wait a second, maybe I have issues and that's why he's not talking to me. So it's much, much harder to have self-confidence under that circumstance. But in the end of the day, you should have self-confidence. Check yourself. I haven't done anything, and the person is not talking to me. If he has an issue with me, they're more than welcome to bring it up and talk to me about it, and we could try and fix it. But if they're not going to bring it up and they're going to play these games of not talking, then I'm not going around trying to please the world. That's not what my life is about. I'm very comfortable with who I am, and I'm ready to move on. So that's, I think, to kind of create the difference between the two approaches. But I'll add this. Why is this to do with Rosh Hashanah? And I think this is extremely important. And it's the following, because when Rosh Hashanah comes along, a person looks at his year and he revisits himself and sees what he's done wrong and what he's done right. And there's an interesting thing that happens, what we call teshuvah. Teshuvah, I gave a shir about this. It's not repent, really. It's return. Teshuvah is to return. Now, the question is, to what are we returning? So the answer is we're returning to God. But in a deeper sense, we're actually returning to ourselves. There's many things in our own life that one does, and it's not him to do it. Now, I used this example. I asked one of the students that I learned with, I said to him, did you download the app TikTok? So he said to me, no. So I said, well, would you? He said, not really. It's not me to download that. But you never know. Maybe I'll just one day be bored and I'll download it, right? But it's not really my thing. It's not like TikTok. I wouldn't do that, right? So for him to download TikTok wouldn't be him. It would be something he was tempted to do, or he was bored, and therefore he did it. So many things in life that we do that are not us, right? That's considered distancing yourself from who you are. Growth is doing things that are you. When a person grows, he does things that represent him. In essence, what we want to do are usually things that make us grow. So return to who you are is teshuvah. Because in every person, there's a chelek Eloi kamimal, there's a part within us that is a part of Hashem. When Hashem says, Shuva ad Hashem Elokecha, return to Hashem, the best way to do it is returning to me. The more I recognize who me is, the more I can identify the me and get a real reality about who I am, the more I'm likely to do real teshuvah, the more I'm likely to really return. So really, on these days of Rosh Hashanah, coming up to Rosh Hashanah, I think a very important thing to pay attention to is who I really am. And through that, your self-confidence grows. And through that, you return and you get a better year. That's the focus we have to try and have for this coming up year, is to try and pay attention to that and really make a list. Again, everyone with their type of exercise, but really making a list of some way of my talents, what I'm good at, what I like doing, not what I like doing, but what represents me, like who I am, what's good about me. And like I said, your mother or your whatever, the one that loves you, could do that list very easily. It's us that struggle with doing that list. We struggle with doing that list. You know, a guy told me once that his wife came up to him one day and she says to him, "You're a great guy." And he says, "Why?" And she says, "Well, you helped this sibling and you helped that sibling this year and you did this for that sibling." And he said to me that till his wife didn't tell him it, he didn't even realize these things. It's things that he's done, but he didn't pay attention that those are, but his wife looks up to him because she says, he's such a good husband. He does this thing and he does that, and he cares about this sibling and he cares about that relative, and he tries to help this person, and he was on the phone with that guy trying to give him strength, right? Someone from the side watching could give much more compliments and explain who we are than ourselves. So Rosh Hashanah comes up, return to who we are, do teshuvah, that's returning to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Through that you return to Hashem, because when you do the things that really represent you, it's usually Torah, it's usually mitzvahs, because those are the things that bring the best things out of us. The best growth is when we honor our parents, when we treat people with respect, when we do pay attention to all the blessings we got, when we have gratitude. These are all simple concepts of growth that one could develop within himself. And that's what it's about. So if we can strengthen these ideas, then obviously we'll be able to take constructive criticism. We won't be people pleasers, and we won't be afraid from failure. And I think those are tremendous achievements to get, but it does take hard work and does take time, but we can get there. We can get there. Okay. Any questions before we end? I knew it.
Yeah,
No
I was asked a
great.
question. With the example of the man, in your situation with, not being worried about someone, like stopping, like if they stop speaking to you, or, and you said how if a person's confident, has self-esteem, then it won't concern them. Is it a contradiction to want to be sensitive? Like if you're hypersensitive to, it should concern you because you care about another yid. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Or like you want to give that person, we don't seek kavod, but you want to give kavod to others. Is it how do you find that? Yes, you don't want to rely your self-esteem on them, but you want to make sure that, I don't know, you are worried about it, but how do you know if it's coming from a place of esteem or if it's just, you're just trying to be very, very sensitive because it bothers you that that person, just stops speaking to you because, I don't know.
Right.
That person must be
Great
going through
question.
something.
Great question. Great question. I think that the answer to that is when you greet someone and they don't greet you back, then that's an indication that they have an issue. Now, yes, they might have an issue with me. I did not stop talking to them. They stopped talking to me. I greeted them. They did not greet me back. So if they have an issue with me, they're more than welcome to bring it up. Now, I don't have to start guessing what their issue with me is. That's not my problem. They're the ones that stop talking. So if they want to sort it out, they can come forward and sort it out. But I didn't close the door. I still greeted them. I was friendly. I said hello, right? if I have an issue with someone, I go and speak to them. If I don't go and speak to them and I decide I'm not talking to them anymore, then I'm the one that has to take care of that issue. Even though, yes, people should be sensitive to each other, and of course you want to respect others, but if I stop talking to someone because I'm upset about something they've done, then it's my job to sort that out. It's my job to sort that out. Someone insulted me. So I'm upset that they insulted me. So I'm not talking to them. But eventually I have to be mature enough to go and speak to them. It goes into another discussion about abusive relationships, which is people that they try to manipulate others based on their emotions. So they try and make you feel bad about things all the time. So they don't talk to you, and when they see you on the street, they turn to the other way or they cross the road, and then you constantly trying to fix the situation with them. That could even bring to abusive relationship, because you constantly have to deal with the issue that a new one that they found about you, and they're coming to you. So you have to be careful to not allow yourself to get into those relationships. The opposite. If they have an issue, they can come and speak to me. I left it open. I greeted them. I'm still friendly with them. So I'm treating them with kavod. I'm treating them with respect. It's up to them if they want to open it up and speak to me about it. That would be the difference. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? So, no. Okay. Shkoyach, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. And I appreciate everyone for coming. And if I don't talk to some of you, then ktiva v'chatima tova to everyone. Have a Shana Tova. Hopefully we should have only good news. Okay. All the best.
Thanks,
Thanks, Rav. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan, for joining.
Thank you.
All the best.
Hi, Rav.